Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in, imagine you're breathing in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, notice with your eyes closed, as you breathe out, you're able to go deeper and deeper relaxed. Breathing in that resourceful feeling of relaxation, exhaling tension, and allowing the breath to get longer and deeper as you exhale, noticing that you can then deeper breathe in and release more of that tension on the outward breath, enabling you to go deeper and deeper relaxed. As your body relaxes, your imagination becomes more activated, more alert. That creative part, the playful part of your imagination awakens as your body relaxes and feels sleepy. The part of your imagination that can create stories comes to mind. And I want you to imagine that that part of you is about to go on an adventure. I want you to imagine that you're traveling into the future. And in the future, you're in a strange city that you haven't been to before. Perhaps in a different country. Maybe they speak English and maybe they don't. But I want you to imagine that in this bustling city, as you're walking through the streets, I want you to imagine that you see a bookstore that almost calls to you. There's something about this bookstore, the way it looks, that almost magnetically pulls you in through the entrance. And I want you to imagine you're walking around this bookstore. You like the staircase. You like the ambience, the energy. You even like how everything's organized. It reminds you perhaps of a bookshop that you know. And I want you to go to a particular section of this bookstore that is designed to have books that really impact people's lives. That perhaps if someone was dealing with a difficult situation, they might try and seek some insight or knowledge or inspiration from a book in this bookshop. As you walk around the bookshop, you uncover this section, and I want you to see a young woman. And she's browsing through a book. I want you to see her facial expression as she's flicking the pages. And you can tell with her facial expression that this book resonates with her in some way. It's having an impact in her life. Maybe it's making her feel that she's not alone. Maybe it's making her feel that doors that were closed to her are actually open. Things she thought were impossible are now possibilities. I want you to get a sense that this single book has the capacity to change this young woman's life and steer it in a different direction. Has the ability to break generational traumas that perhaps have repeated generation after generation. And perhaps this young woman reading this book can be the one to break that cycle. As she leaves, she puts the book on a table, and you can see a tear just trickling down her cheek. It's not a tear of sadness, it's a tear of hope. For the first time perhaps ever in this young woman's life, she has a different way of looking at the world. And it's this book that has given her that hope. And then I want you to pick up the book and you realize that your name is the author. The title is your book. And this is the story of your life. A time in your life where traumatic events happened. Adversity had to be overcome. Challenge after challenge after challenge, and yet you were able to navigate a path that steered your life in a direction, and it's all written in the pages of these books. But I want you to notice something strange about this book. The book is only half finished. I want you to notice that there is a new chapter, but the pages are blank. And the pages are for you to fill. But in order to write your future, isn't it imperative to learn from the past? I want you to imagine reading one of the early chapters in the book. And perhaps the chapter is you of a certain age in your childhood. And as you read the pages, I want you to imagine that you're creating mental movies in your mind's eye about where you were at that time. And then imagine that it no longer feels like you're reading the book. It feels like you're in the book. It feels like you're a character in the book. And I want you to recall a time of significance. Something important happened in that moment. Currently you feel like you're in your own body, but you have the ability to switch perspective. I want you to feel like you're in your own body now, and then just decide that you're watching yourself like you're someone else. And then whoosh, imagine you're back in your body living that experience. And then jump back out and notice how easy it is to move from being inside the memory to observing the memory, and back and forth. And in that way, you have the ability to look at something from multiple perspectives. In fact, while reading this book, you can jump into anyone else. Your mother, your father, a school friend, a teacher. And you get to see the world through their eyes. Imagine what they're thinking, but also imagine what you're thinking. And also be some impartial observer that just witnesses what happens. And it's the observer that can notice the details, the facts, almost like a news reporter. And when you're in individuals looking at that same experience, you're connected to inner thoughts, emotions, fears, worries, but also perhaps positive emotions like pride and accomplishment. And in this moment where something significant happened, I want you to imagine that you replay the same moment again and again from every perspective of every person to see all sides of the story. And notice that as you do that, you're connecting with a different perspective, from a different reality, from a different life that's lived different experiences. And those things that perhaps didn't make sense to you as a child start to make more sense, start to give you an insight to thoughts, motives, and some of the decisions that didn't make sense Maybe they're still not right, but they just make more sense. I want you to extract all of the memories from this moment, knowing that you can encapsulate them in written form, in verbal form. You can record these inner thoughts and utilize them to extract the wisdom, the insight, the value, to change the meaning, giving you the ability to go to different moments in your life, to see things that you thought you'd forgotten, to notice details that you wouldn't have noticed. And all these things give you the ability to form the words on the page that someone perhaps that you'll never meet is impacted by, perhaps in a city or country that you've never been to before. I want you to imagine that you're back in that bookstore, turning to a different chapter. Perhaps you're at a different age in your life, and then as you read those pages, imagine you're going into that time of your life. Firstly in your body, experiencing whatever happened, but always having the ability to jump out of your body whenever anything painful or traumatic occurs. You can observe it without reliving it. You can access the thoughts and the emotions if you want to, but jump out if you don't. You can interpret the emotions from facial expressions, from how you looked at that time without needing to relive something traumatic. Experiencing it through the eyes of different people at different times enables you to extract more of the moments, the memories, the inside of that life. Extract all of that value and then find yourself back in the bookstore. And then turn to that new chapter where the words haven't been written yet. And then just imagine that you're in your own body, living this next year as you want to live it. And maybe you're observing yourself, or maybe you're inside your own body. It doesn't matter. Whatever feels more comfortable. But whether you're observing yourself or living your life, I want it to be as you want it to be. Accomplishing what you want to accomplish. Achieving what you want to achieve. Connecting with those people you want to connect with. Taking your life in the very direction that gives you the best balance of lifestyle, experience, fulfillment, and challenges. That all your needs are being met, and adversity and problems are solved in a seamless way. And then imagine that you're going forward in time, perhaps 2, 3, 4, 5 years in the future. And I want you to imagine that this isn't destiny, this is possibility. And I want you to imagine what represents the most fulfilling future for you. If things go the way you want them to go, what does that look like? What does it feel like? What are you doing? How are you spending your time? How are you earning your income? And who and what are you doing? As you get a sense into this desirable, aspirational future, I want your unconscious mind to unlock all of the resources necessary to manifest and draw yourself towards this future. The only limitations are the ones in your mind, and allow those limitations to be broken down, creating an opening for you to create more of the life that you want to create. Knowing that the better you make your life, the bigger an inspiration you are for people that lived a childhood like your childhood. Therefore, there's no guilt attached to living your best life. Because in doing so, you inspire the very people that need inspiring, giving hope to the people that need hope the most. There is no resistance to living your best life, because now living your best life is a lighthouse to those people out there in the choppy waters of a storm. You give them hope, and you give them the ability to direct their future in a positive way for them. It's now time to leave this moment and find yourself back in that bookshop. I want you to imagine putting the book back in the shelf, giving an opportunity for someone else to pick up and read or buy this book. And as you walk perhaps down the staircase, back out into the streets of this new city, I want you to get a sense of what needs to happen for you to feel like your book has been worthwhile. Maybe it's connected with just one life that needed hope or inspiration or belief, or maybe something else. I want you to decide what needs to happen for you to feel that it's all worthwhile. And maybe all it takes is for you to have the courage to do something that most people will never do. They say everyone's got a book inside them, but very few people will publish or write a book. So maybe success is just doing that. Turning an idea, turning it into reality, perhaps leaving a legacy, even if it's for your own children so they know where they've come from, the struggles you've had to overcome, and how you broke a generational traumatic cycle so they don't need to carry the burden of what's happened in previous generations. And then you realize that all of this are just thoughts within thoughts, ideas within ideas, dreams within dreams. I want you to return to the present with more clarity as to your goals, objectives, a willingness to delve into the past to extract the value, and the courage to go into the future and turn thoughts and dreams into realities. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, get a sense that you're all fully present in the moment, back in your own body, but taking all of those resources, beliefs that you're able to do this, and the desire to do this all with you as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.